Hello, me lads and lovelies. Captain Edward von Arkham here, coming to you from on board the MHS Hysteria. A quick history lesson today. In the early 44th century, the nations of Europe were exhausted by a war between East and West. The Eastern nations, led by Russia and Tsar-elect Semyonov, fought the southwestern nations, led by Italy and the High Senate, which wrought heavy tolls on both sides. The war ended with Russia's defeat, Semyonov was impeached, and the Eastern nations threatened to revolt if their losses were not repaid, which Russia could not afford to do. Meanwhile, things were tense between Bavaria and Scandinavia over complications among trade and travel due to the collapse of Scandinavia's geothermal power industry, and Britain was an economic ruin because it was inconvenient. So things were generally just bad. And in Europe's darkest hour, a man stepped forward with a solution for all. Amadeus Castiglione, Prime Minister of Italy's High Senate, established several very clever economic solutions for the Eastern nations and his own. Within 2 years, the European economy had grown stronger than it had ever been. And as so often happens when a politician has an idea that works, they elected to give him a promotion. The European Union was reorganized into a republic, and Amadeus Castiglione was appointed as the head of state. Only a few years later, the papal triumvirate abdicated their authority to Amadeus, declaring that he had been chosen by divine providence to unify the world and giving him the title of Caesar. Not long after that, the republic became Europa Imperia, and Amadeus became the Grand Imperator. He is renowned historically as Amadeus the Unifier. His son, Caesar Hieronymus, became famous for his revolutionary military reforms. His son, Caesar Lucian, expanded the empire to include Great Britain after their economy had collapsed entirely. Then came Caesar Adolphus. By the time he had become Grand Imperator, Europa Imperia had become the most prosperous empire in history, and Caesar Adolphus held sway over the governments of over 50 nations and their militaries. Oh, and this just in, at some point in his rule, his consciousness is ripped from his body and imprisoned in the body of an asylum inmate in the 16th century, whilst his own imperial body was supplanted by the mind of Niccolo Machiavelli! He went out of his way to be clever on this one. Machiavelli used the Yith's machine to switch minds with Peter Scroggs, leaving the inmate to rave about in the body of a dying man in a foreign country, then arranged for the machine to be brought to Bedlam to complete the transfer. He would become the most powerful man in history, and Caesar Adolphus would be trapped in the body of a lunatic in the past, surrounded by people who don't speak Italian. Caesar Adolphus is historically renowned for his campaign to expand Europa Imperia into Asia, resulting in a devastating war with China. This was eventually ended with the exhaustion and defeat of the European military, but with Machiavelli in control and still in possession of Yithian technology, that's as maybe. If he uses the machine to alter the course of history, I do not want to think of what could befall the chronosphere. So to save the course of history, we face an empire. Magnificent! Well, that's our time for today. I'm off to come up with a proper plan. Oh, this is exciting. Until next time, stay mad, my duckies. I've got goosebumps. Oh no, wait! Those are albatross bumps.